Welcome to the Laghu and Dog Show. I'm Laghu. And dog is flowing through me. I'm here. I'm here. Yeah. I'm bored. You better keep me entertained then. So what are we talking about today, dog? You don't just jump, do you? Smoke this, dog. Let me put up that seed. So today we'll be talking about conscious mapping. What it means to map out your perception. You know, to give yourself structure or architecture in your perception. Now, a lot of what we perceive is like an open socket. And even in some of the highest orders, their ability to perceive reality seems to be an open socket. Basically because there's an authority here. And the intent, there's a hidden agenda or intent that drives with humanity, and by creating the perceptual open socket, it gives the ability for the intent to drive through the natural order. So when conscious mapping things, there's a force or a pressure driving through humanity that tends to hide the cognition ratio. It tends to distort reality so it can keep its intent. And basically it's an intent that would be deteriorated if it came out in the open. So it's like humanity has captured a force that really, if it went out into the open, it would deteriorate. And this force has proven that it's a deteriorative factor. It's an advanced deterioration. To basically, well, according to their standards, the intent occupants, they believe they're doing something wrong. So the force that we're experiencing of advanced deterioration isn't a complete effect. Basically because the determinants, the beings that sent the force, know they're doing something wrong. Probably shouldn't smoke, so I came in. But this is only gonna be a short video. I do want to smoke that. Rationally, it affects the cognition and even the maturity and the rationality of every human, because this intent can't be caught by us, or it would dissolve. It can't, the intent itself of the force, the impeding force, isn't a complete ratio. And we tried completing the ratio so it could partake, but really the impeding force would not. It was like a relevant of patterns that really won't. It basically, the whole time I was dealing with it, it just kept saying I wasn't allowed here. It wouldn't let me build. It wouldn't accept any pattern from me. It wouldn't accept me. And it wouldn't accept change. It paradoxed itself because it wouldn't accept me. This force that is not complete is trying to keep an ill completion and say it's perfection. That won't work. It basically has come to the maturity of a mistake. One of the most important tools of the opposition is a uncertainty where the force or the inclusion will put you in a place to make a choice and leave you uncertain about the choice. according to the stories that I've been told, what we're dealing with is a reproductive even to cloning aspects. So not just physically reproducing, but scientifically reproducing a product to be sold even in more. So there's an intrusive force designing reality that uses uncertainty to maintain separation of even yourself and the outer world, and that force convinces us to reach for the it factor. Dog. This is who Dog is on my show, the it factor. He shows up when he can, he shows up when he doesn't. We are worried about looking off balance. We want people to take our information seriously. Dog likes to play. Dog flows through you. He is an external component that wants you to really treat it like your best friend. Like two boys and bros in a bar. Or Bart Simpson and his dog. You know, that's the major security standpoint of The Simpsons. Bart and his dog. But I don't say that I speak to God, because basically it's part of the external impediment to walk around saying you talk to God. The external force will impede your life, the intrusion, because we are in a scenario that dismantles the effect of what source is. So that's like that impeding force, that tries to negotiate humanity from the inside, basically to keep its secrets hidden. We experience separation because in primal agnosis we would see their secrets and they wouldn't be able to control us. Agnosis is the prime statement of educating, survival, and structure throughout the whole district of everything. So the impediment has labeled itself as a deity called God to synthetically create the effect of a God consciously over humanity. So the impediment force that looks at us like a scientific rebirth sent us out into war, sent an intrusion that tries to define the purity to terminate it. So the intrusion itself can match the harmonic frequency of the humanity's consciousness and take over or synthetically dualize itself. So like, let me see if I can draw this out. See here, we'll go here, here. Alright, we'll go here. Alright, so we'll say the primal energy, which Source is a part of, comes up from the bottom. Humanity is on the planet, and this intrusion placed itself in a vortex on one side to draw in through thermal appropriations, so thermodynamics or fluid dynamics, a scenario where it was relevant to the effect of it within the primal pool. So basically, something's come upon the planet, and I know this seems a little different, but the planet, the people on the inside of the planet. Okay, now this primal pool, what it's done, so there's something up here magnetically drawing on the planet to create this vortex. So this happens because this is ETs. And this video will really show you what ETs represent. And this is the scary part. In this primal hypnosis, this is what the aliens think they can do. So the aliens have come upon the planet to draw a primal hypnosis from the planet itself. Humanity is just a construct in this notion. They're not the prime discipline. The planet is the prime discipline. So basically, this thing comes to this planet, harness a magnetic wave over it that gets it to primarily produce a signature that would authentically create security, sufficiency, and implementation of self. And then what they've done is they've separated the it factor from the primal pull that's being drawn on by the planet in this vortex, and the vortex sends a signal on the surface of the planet, and probably about 100 feet into it, that before anybody can see the it factor come out of the primal effect, the vortex is pulled on the it factor, copied it, so it can sustain the it factor in its own intent, which is the intrusion upon humanity. I think I did that right. So one map that we have is that our primal mama Terra, the planet, is being siphoned. And what she's being siphoned for is not even a holy product, but a product of war. So the Terra Mama, the planet, has got a magnetic disturbance upon her to get her to produce a nurturing. It would almost be like milking a cow for the milk and not letting her have the child. So there's this race that knows they're doing wrong with a psychological component based weapon that humanity doesn't know about, and they're trying to allow the primal gnosis to be manipulated into an interpretation they know they're wrong. So to give you an idea here, I've gathered that the aliens stole a machine, ideally marked for medical facilitation of etheric modulation. Now that means if I break my bone right now, it will heal completely right now. So we're surrounded by a machine that is made to facilitate etheric this matter right here, etheric matter right in that square, into a medical facilitation of eternal structure. This machine was stolen to create a cloning mechanism to create product, which is humanity, for money and barter. I haven't seen it for myself, this product manifestation, but what it tells me is that the aliens that I guess stole the machine and tried to open a mining operation to conduct an experiment about controlling the primal nurturing security and sufficiency have hit the core of the primal mama's nipple. And it took them for a walk. It took them for a walk, man. I'm going to take this moment to take a break. Go get some coffee. Here's some music. Actually, Alexa, would you like to do the news?
Here's your news.
Here's the news. I'll be right back.
From Fox 2 Detroit.
This is Fox News Monica Gale. It's Friday, March 22nd. Special Counsel Robert Mueller completes his nearly 2-year Russia investigation. The final report now in the hands of Attorney General William Barr. Mueller reportedly is not recommending any further indictments in the probe. The Attorney General could update Congress on the findings as early as this weekend. General Motors announcing it's investing $300 million to build a new electric vehicle at the Orion Assembly Plant. The automaker says the money will go to make a Chevy vehicle based on the battery-powered Volt. The move will generate 400 jobs, but GM is not saying if those workers will be new hires or will be transferred from the automaker's soon-to-be idle plants. The number of confirmed cases of the measles in Oakland County on the rise. The health department reporting 3 new cases for a total of 8 so far. These are all related to the travel case announced last week. The infected person visiting from Israel visited businesses in Bloomfield Hills, Madison Heights, Oak Park, Southfield, Berkeley, and Royal Oak. We put a list of locations and dates on our website, fox2detroit.com. And basketball, Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal is the new face of Papa John's Pizza. O'Neal has joined the board of directors, and the company will pay the basketball star more than $8 million in cash and company stock for a 3-year endorsement deal. Clearing and cold tonight, less breezy, the low 20. More sun for Saturday with a high of 46. A chance of storms late Sunday with a daytime high near 50. You can always get the latest news and weather anytime on the air and online at fox2detroit.com or on our Facebook page.
From Environmental Minute, leaf feeding caterpillars greatly enrich their intestinal flora by eating soil. It's even possible to trace the legacy effects of plants that previously grew in that soil through bacteria and fungi in the caterpillars. Using their own laser imaging technology, scientists have determined the lifestyle of a special hatchling bird by revealing the previously unknown feathering preserved in the fossil specimen found in the 125-million-year-old early Cretaceous fossil beds of Las Hoyas, Spain. Thawing permafrost in high-altitude mountain ecosystems may be a stealthy, underexplored contributor to atmospheric carbon dioxide emissions. Scientists have developed a way to identify the beginning of every gene, known as a translation start site or a start codon, in bacterial cell DNA with a single experiment and, through this method, they have shown that an individual gene is capable of coding for more than one protein. Scientists analyzed data spanning more than 4 decades and concluded that the impact of lake trout in Yellowstone Lake, in particular, the decline of native cutthroat trout, has cascaded across the lake, its tributaries and the surrounding ecosystem. From Daily Chester the Jester, you hear about the visually impaired feline skydivers that died when they hit the ground? Cat Air Axe. In the News for Nerds, freshly exhumed rights, Representative Elijah Cummings, DMD, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, has revealed that senior White House advisor Jared Kushner's lawyer admitted in December that his client continues to use WhatsApp to conduct official White House business. The chairman also said that a lawyer for Ivanka Trump and Mr. Kushner told the committee late last year that they additionally used private email accounts for official White House business in a way that may have violated federal records laws. Mr. Kushner's lawyer, Abbe Lowell, could not say whether his client used WhatsApp to share classified information. Regardless, Cummings says the communications raise questions about whether Kushner and other officials violated the Presidential Records Act, which requires the president and his staff take all practical steps to file personal records separately from presidential records. As for Ivanka's use of a personal email account to conduct official business, her lawyer says she sent the emails before she was briefed on the rules. If you're not familiar with WhatsApp, here's what you should know about it. As of January 2019, more than 1.5 billion users in over 180 countries use WhatsApp. Created in 2009 as an alternative to text messaging, reports USA Today. Facebook acquired WhatsApp in 2014 to make a bigger play in the rapidly growing messaging market, along with its own messenger platform, which also boasts 1.5 billion users. The service features end-to-end encryption, meaning the sender and recipient are the only ones who can view the messages. Earlier this month, Microsoft made the source code for its Windows calculator available on GitHub. This has spurred developers to add new features to the app, like a new graphing mode that will make its way to the official
Okay,
Windows
Alexa,
calculator.
can you turn off the news, please? Did we learn anything from the news? Sorry to do that to you. I thought it would be inspirational. So what did we learn? So basically, conscious mapping is the relevance between reality and your force. So in conscious mapping, what I just told you gives you the ability to understand the psychological component of another human. What we are learning is that subtleties of unbalanced and irrationality can say they are from an external momentum outside the responsibility factor of rationality within the brain, within the concept of the brain, at least the brain. About the heart, I don't think rationally the component we've experienced gives us permission to say that it extends outside the heart, but it does extend outside the brain, which basically says that there is an external force that drives humanity outside the component of source, which takes responsibility of one human See, that's an iffy boundary, because there are 4 parts to consciousness, really. You got your brain, you got your heart, you got your cells, and then you got your magnetic form, your aura, or your soul, your magnetic form. So the force we just explained in another human being would directionally program the logical, rational set of patterns. Now, sorry for smoking. So it would drive the set of patterns, the external momentum that source does not want to take responsibility for. So basically what you're looking at in all and the everything is that source is everything, being everything all the time, but something happened on this planet that it doesn't want to take responsibility for, which basically the aliens that are doing wrong have triggered something within the reality to make the it factor flinch out of harmony, actually, because I would assume that as soon as it didn't want to respectively respond to something, it would be determinized. So conscious mapping, when you go in the beginning of conscious mapping, it's really about being able to rationalize a response inside yourself while dealing with another human being. So say I teach you something. I tell you a story about a fire and a firefly. And the firefly never felt efficient around the fire until one day it scurried off. It found its way home, and it was just as efficient as the fire. Logical minds don't work logically. So rationally, when you're approaching someone or dealing with someone, once you hear information, it contrasts itself in, if it's true, if it's real, it will contrast itself into the parameters of your perception. And this is what I mean, adding structure to your perception. This map I just gave you gives you the ability to structure your perception of any piece of action or any still movement, and try to idealize its source. Now what the Mayans teach us is that everything really does have a source, because everything has an end. And the Mayans has practiced taking time and pinning it down to the source of events. In 2012, there was an event. It wasn't that the calendar existed, it was that the event existed. And the Mayans geographically wrote down their travels to the source of the event, which basically said it was a circle. The event started right where you're at. In the very moment. You know, that's just a short answer though. You know, that's dog disguising himself. That was an opportunity for dog to come out and speak for himself about the event. I mean, So, on a galactic standpoint of just the Milky Way, you know, when you discern these maps, thanks Milky Way. You're welcome, boy. So, one thing the Milky Way wants me to explain is that when you propagate your map, so when you get better at seeing reality for what it's worth, when you get better at propagating your map, you want to be in your sandbox, so to speak. And I say sandbox is computer jargon, meaning a sandbox for computers. It's just a place to run an operating system or a program without it damaging nothing. Right? For the mild term. I can damage something from a sandbox. You know, so everybody's got the sandbox. You know, you need to explore reality. Instead of taking drugs, use your sandbox. You know, drugs offer us the ability to take two timelines at once. And we take the better of the timelines when we're done. You know, it's like a little birthday celebration. In all your birthdays, all your births, you're always striving for that one line. And you know that every birth you ever have is an obedient master to the next. Because every line is striving to be the best line. But how? Because heart. Heart is in love with you. Heart is in love with you. So what happens is you come out like a flower and you strive up for your lives, and the heart just makes you kind of pull in and pull it all back down when you're done. This ride back down, heart is going to create the most blissful fucking moment with you. Everything is connected. Everything. Consciously allowing yourself to relax, to catch flows, to catch vortexes, to catch variances. Allowing your brain to calm, your heart to still. The flows exist in the outside of your reality, penetrating you all day long. The idea is not to take what has been given, separate it, and challenge it. What I've learned most of all is that within me is a primary negotiation. Within being here, within my actions, within what I'm experiencing, within my logical, rational constraints and consents, to even my sexual nature. It's all respected, you know, and that's really what the force field that we existed relies on, is respect. You know, mapping out something like this, really to hide it, you would rely on respect, not to modulate. And that's the difference. It's what we're experiencing here. Is we're experiencing two determinations of physical, mathematical construction on the inside, meaning a computer or a crystal, something that has to transmute into something else to help you achieve your invasive force, your invasive actions, your invasive structure, your ideal to modulate the constraints just to hide your security. Respect. So you jumped into the reality without respecting the determinations of having such a reality. That's one of the most overall reactions I'm getting. You really don't have the respect, and it's turning around to bite you in the ass. I don't want to talk to aliens right now, man. I'm doing a short show. It's a short show. And I'm just talking about conscious mapping. How to program, how to access it, how to allow it to precede your reality and structure your reality so it's fluid in hypnosis, in the primal hypnosis factor that's being released. So here upon the planet, in the map, it shows that the Terra Mama is being sucked on for her primal nipple, and humanity doesn't get a piece of that because we're part of an experiment. Humanity is actually part of the intrusive force, and whenever anybody breaks free from the intrusive force, that intrusive force tortures them. No, I don't want to talk to you, aliens. Get out of here. So, conscious mapping can help relieve some of the stresses, because when you're talking to somebody, when you're relating, conversating, when you're with somebody else, there's a lot of give and take there, because you see someone acting a certain way, but inside you feel like there should be different consequences, because you're feeling their patterns and you're not experiencing the patterns, but you're feeling them. And I don't know. I mean, I do know. I was so smart on that one that someone blocked my thought. You know, it'll, like, these patterns make arcs where they overthrow you when you know you feel something in someone, but you can't quite get the actions out. Which sometimes feels like it would save their life if you could do that. Like you're staring at them like, I know I feel this pattern in you, but I just can't get you to recognize it. You know, that's part of the membrane of the intrusion that it leaves behind to protect itself in the security that it protects for creating an evil empire. I mean, I'll go that far and to say what we live in is the product of an evil empire. On an extraterrestrial galactic federation level, it's the product of an evil empire. There is no holy abundance towards negotiation, but only for drilling standards. The empire sets in standards through religious modulation. Basically, the empire terminated one of their own and stuck them on our planet, and their own regulates the planet. Aren't you? Yeah, I haven't seen much of you because you really don't matter. Not to me, buddy. Which leaves you wondering about me if I'm even human. I'll say it on TV, man. I think I'm human. Don't matter. See, what there's negotiations of genetics being extruded through etheric components and a conscious realization. As I flow through my agnostics training and learn about the mechanisms, I'm supposed to be in action in a pure performance, so I can retain knowledge for even governments, because really this information needs to be taken that seriously. So I need to be a good example for my product, which is myself right now. See, so what I'm doing is I'm selling the product that the experiment gave me as me, and I'm selling the quarry part, the Laghu part, as an entrepreneur. I mean, authentically, the relationship between that one element that I just spoke about, capturing the planet, being so what I get is that the aliens know how to terminate one of their own in a way that it would facilitate a type of God ratio in the conscious spectrum, completely voluntarily outside the divinity of respect, to try to harness the planet in a primordial hypnosis so they could suck on the God nipple to control their experiment of humanity, whose the only determination they've come up with is a virus. They feel they are a virus. I'm almost done with my video. That is one conscious map that will help you through your day. That is a realization that I encourage all of us to look forward into just by monitoring our daily environments. Watching for those uncertainty patterns in other people, and watch what takes them away into the choice. You know, in self-mastery and self-realization, learning how to define your own choices in your own makeup, in your own reality, as even a God, as so many occult teachings would teach us, is that our soul is our God, trapped in a human form. And really, the human form is becoming the God. What happened to my humans? Okay. So really, because of that one element being restricted from life to become a sun deity here, I guess you would call him a sun deity, I would never allow the planet to be taken as a full. It would only, that element would only ever make it as a part, as a mechanism. Coming from the perspective that I'm speaking from right now, I would truly say that it would never make it as a full range. And if I'm here now developing this with you, that's proof. And I've been developing this for the past 40 years. So, conscious mapping is an efficient resource, and it can be used on smaller home environments too. You know, you want to check your home's frequency, check your home's foundation. Put a penny in the ground and then remove it, and then put it in the ground and remove it 3 days at a time. Pay attention to the children in your home. to then, I don't recommend a crystal, because it would be like telling you to go into meditation and becoming completely silent. But the vibrations from the penny, because it's metal, copper actually, which is a nice prestigious metal, would create a vibration into the ground, and the amplitude from the planet would help give you some type of structural perception that your reality is being modified just from a penny being in the ground. And then take a crystal. See, really, we're stuck in this arrangement where once we are the solution compiles itself into a major factor. And I mean like 100 over 22 or 22 over 100, you know? It's not a prime number. The way we compile our information once we've become to the point isn't a whole number. It's not a prime number. It's not. It's a factor. Because basically, with the best example I have with that is meditation. Most people will tell you in meditation, quiet your mind, release it all, and just sit there. And this is where I would say our teachings need to be turned 25 degrees. We have the masters coming in upon us, teaching us to silence our mind, when the objective really is, once you start, to become open to your mind. Listen to your mind. Listen to the words. Feel the emotion. Your brain is not meant to be shut down. Coming from the 25-degree turn, keeping a silence on the secrecy of the experiment would cause the religious and the righteous to shut down, because primal hypnosis would allow them to see the truth. It's not the case. Spiritual people need to keep their minds active and moving. In meditation now, we are going to learn the 25-degree rotation of this acceptance, of it even getting out. The fact that it's even being released in air, the fact that I'm even speaking about it, will cause an effect. Everything is networked. Everything is networked. Everything has its own network. Everything is a part of a bigger network. Everything is networked. It doesn't have to be online. I'm doing this for a couple friends and anybody else that wants to listen. This is out. Your machine is worthless. Sucking on diagnosis. So basically, you believe you have. So it's not the fact that you were given a signature to hunt for it. You actually hunted it in here, in the primal essence, and captured it. So conscious mapping, helps. And there are other conscious maps. I'll do another video on that one right now. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.